Hi everyone, welcome to a new edition of the Low Code Cafe, episode number 14. That looks like a lot of work that we put so far, and it's good. Today we have a very interesting topic in the hands-on part, and it's actually been coming over and over again during time, and that is the integration with HubSpot. So what we decided to do for today is take our marketing systems that we've been building for the past 4 editions and add integration with HubSpot to pull contacts from there to send email marketing to them. But the technique that we'll show you, it's actually generic, so you can use it for any APIs that they provide. So you could push content there, you could push activities, you could create deals, move deals, so anything is possible. But before that, for those of you that are new to this webinar, I want to give you like a brief introduction on what we are trying to do here. So this webinar is mostly about the community and the team getting together and discuss in technical terms about low code, show some feature demos, but also do this development hands-on part. And we do this every week. We start with a project that we iterate over every week, push it further. And besides that, we also have other content related to support, to community updates, like what new systems, what new ways to get support we release. And sometimes we even have guest speakers. And by the way, if you're interested to speak, to show something interesting to the community that you built with low code, that will be wonderful to have you in this event. All these webinars are recorded, so make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channels. We also have new videos coming out every week on doing some particular use cases or just on training videos. So we have a lot of content coming out. And yeah, there's multiple ways to engage with us. There's the chat window. You can also raise your hand and we can do voice, video. So anything is allowed. It's an event about us as a community, and let's make it fun. So today we will not have the From the Trenches episode that we usually have with Dale from support. Instead, we are going to vary it a bit. And today I would like to invite our one of our newest member in the team, Patrick, who took over our training, our technical onboarding process, let's call that. So documentation, training, videos, that kind of activities. And what he's going to show us today, and let me give him permissions in the meanwhile. What he's going to show us today is the new documentation that we are just about to release. And just look at it from a user's perspective, but also from a contributor perspective, because we designed it in such a way that we can take it further. So Patrick, if you can share your screen and
Sure.
take over, that would be wonderful.
Yeah. I will be sharing right now. Let's see, there we go. So yeah, some of you may have seen the Planting App documentation site, but we are making improvements to it, and I just wanted to give you a quick tour of that. So start out, we've improved the navigation at the top here. We have navigation that goes to the community site, which I think many of you are probably participating in already. This goes directly to the documentation that's on this site, and then we have navigation that goes to our YouTube channel as well. We can go right into the documentation here, but down lower here, there's just a few sections here that give you some ideas about where to start your learning process. We have a, okay, I just wanted to check the chat there. You can start by watching a video, and there's links here to some of our playlists on YouTube. If you just want to dive into the documentation and start reading, this is where you want to start here. We really recommend that you start reading about the audiences that our documentation is targeted towards. And then here, once again, if you want to learn from others, you can participate in the community portal. So I'm going to go into the documentation here. And you see we have the starting with the audience, and it just describes the different types of users that the documentation is targeted towards. And this is really important as you go through the rest of the documentation and viewing it. Bogdan, I don't know if there's other highlights you want me to show here.
Yeah, so maybe, I mean, the dark light theme is something cool. I think it also aligns with our, developer inclusive vision, right? So we have this cool black dark theme.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then maybe one other thing we should show is that this is tied to the GitHub repository, so anyone could contribute.
Right. So yeah, if you find that you have ideas about the documentation, you can access the documentation site on GitHub here and make suggestions as to how we can change the documentation. And regarding that, the dark theme here, of course, there is the ability, if it's not your style, you can turn that off if you want to.
Cool. So then this will be live at learn.plantanet.com. It's already there, but it's not the latest version. So we'll do another push. And of course, it's not everything. It's just like the minimum we thought that it's worth going live with, and then iterate over and over again to improve it incrementally.
Yes, absolutely. This is a growing source of documentation. It'll constantly be improved.
Yeah. And then one other thing that maybe I want to emphasize is that we have the old documentation that was for DNS#, and gradually we'll pull that in here. So ultimately, this will be the entire documentation for everything. Cool. Thanks a lot, Patrick, for showing
Yeah,
this.
sure.
And for putting the hard work to get this live. It was a team effort in the past few months, but since we got Patrick in our team, it's like a constant effort with a clear roadmap and deadline. So it's a big step forward.
Thanks.
Cool. So now we are ready to move on to Reza to give us some product updates. So yeah.
Thanks, Bogdan. Yeah, just not a whole lot this week. Want to leave us plenty of time to get into the HubSpot. Just wanted to touch on the status of the release. Like I said, we've got a few new features coming, and a lot of little fixes and kind of minor enhancements as well, including the ability to install modules or extensions that are not already installed, so the add-ons, and just with a click of a button. But the big thing that's kind of been driving and pushing us that came in after we'd already started the release was the DNN 9.7 compatibility. Happy to say we've got some members of the community helping us right now, kind of with some customer testing and just making sure in their environments things are looking good. Overall, the reports are coming back pretty good. And so I think we're on track. Originally wanted to have the release candidate ready today, but it's looking more like Friday for that, which basically that's when we kind of stop and freeze everything. If anyone was waiting or needed to get their hands on it then ahead of time, we can make that available, but then we'll go ahead and properly release and publish out the stable version next week, early next week probably. Don't have the exact date on that. We're trying to time it with some other things we have going on and announcements and things, just so we minimize our communication footprint. But yeah, it's a good release. Things are coming along, and should have it out to you all very soon.
Thanks a lot, Reza. Also, in terms of releases, what is the schedule?
With the rest of the year coming up?
So maybe 1.9 and then 1.10.
Yeah, so 1.10 is probably going to be about in the third week of October. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we're averaging about one a month. We're trying to get that closer to, you know, once every 2-3 weeks. And so probably be a few weeks out after this one releases, but we'll be kicking off the next release next week. So
cool, cool. Yeah, we got a new member in the team that's very vocal. Okay, yeah, we are ready to move on to the more hands-on part, and I think this is a record for our webinar, getting this early to that hands-on low coding. And yeah, today we have something like, as I mentioned in the introduction, something very cool. And before that, there is a question in the chat, so just want to make sure that it's answered before moving on about upgrading PlantaNet. If you can go from 1.7 to 1.9, and yes, that would be possible. But with the one-click upgrade, it's better to go incrementally. It's always safer, right? Cool. So back to the hands-on part. Just to give you a brief introduction, some of you might not have worked with HubSpot, not knowing what it is. So basically, it's a CRM. It's a customer relationship management tool. So adding contacts, doing leads. I would show it to you, but I don't have like a sandbox instance where I can show sandbox data. But Radu in a bit will show you some screenshot, like what steps you need to go through to get the information out of HubSpot that we need for the integration. Yeah, so to give you a context, usually sales teams use some kind of CRM, and HubSpot is one of the popular one. So probably HubSpot and Salesforce are the most popular one, especially in the medium enterprises to higher enterprises. So then we use HubSpot, of course, internally. We are not a medium enterprise, but we are aspiring scale up, so we use it. And then it's always the need to integrate HubSpot with something. They provide some tools where you can embed some forms when you're on your website to capture leads, but other times it's about maybe pushing activities of people taking action inside your site or inside your product, so making more tight integration. Sometimes it's about getting contacts out of there or putting contacts or moving deals. So our idea today, on top of the marketing portal that we built, we just want to bring the contacts. So we have a single marketing system that can have its local contacts as we did so far, but also we can pull contacts from other systems. And this is somehow a paradigm change to marketing systems, because if you use like MailChimp or the likes, usually you always have to push contacts there. It's your responsibility to keep MailChimp updated. So if user clicks a button on your website and you want that to reflect in the email you send to that person, then you have to push that always to MailChimp to keep MailChimp up to date. Whereas with the paradigm that we'll show today is more about pull. So when you need to send an email, contact the other system that is the source of truth for that contact and get the information that is up to date from there. So that's a bit of context, and I invite Radu to take over. Just a brief introduction. Radu is is the technical leader of our implementation team. So he's the best person we know that can do anything with PlantaNet. So the challenge for today is set ahead of him.
Cool. Thank you for the introduction. Okay, let me share my screen. Hopefully everything is working. Okay, so let's, before we jump into what Bogdan described, let me show you a little bit of what I did, the work I did after the last webinar. So if you remember last time, we were planning on generating new documents based on some PDF components that we have, so you can create your own documents and attach them to the email. So in the last webinar, we were able to generate a document. What I added was actually making that document or documents go to a specific campaign. So the addition, it will be that I added a list of document templates here in the campaigns, and I modified a little bit the workflow that it's sending the campaign to take care of all the documents and add them to the email attachment. For the attachment, I can show you the workflow really quickly. So it's a small addition of an action here when I run a SQL query, and I'm getting all the final documents for a specific campaign comma separated, and I'm using the output token in this guy's files. and I'm going to the action that is actually sending the email, and I'm attaching that to the email with a token. So I hope nothing. It's not something really complicated that I added to our last webinar.
Yeah. And so just to give you also the business context from the other web from the previous webinar, our idea was that we have case studies and we want to produce a single PDF with case studies for a specific industry, for example, and personalize that PDF to attach it to a certain category of contacts. Like we have a healthcare list and we only want to send an attachment with the healthcare related use cases. And that we are able to accomplish that. And if you're not in the last webinar, I invite you to go to YouTube channel, watch that. It's a very cool feature, very powerful, automates a lot of sales and marketing efforts to create those presentations, right? Cool.
So starting the HubSpot integration that we'll like to use today, I created a new entity. It is called the external list, and we can see it right here. What actually this entity contains is a name of the external resource, the API URL, and the authorization header. Those are the only 3 columns that I've added here, and the rest we are just gonna do it today in the webinar. Now going back to the website, we can check out the external list. So I think I will need to do some explanation here. So remember, our lists basically contain a list of subscribers. So basically the subscriber is a user that a contact in the system, and each individual contact has the first name, last name, email, and email type. The idea is that we kind of need the same columns in a way or another, at least to be able to send emails hybridly. So basically, we can also send emails to lists containing, based on the contacts that we have here in the system, but also aggregate different sources with the help of some APIs. And what I have right here is an example of what those APIs should return. They should return a list of objects containing the email, the first name, and the last name. And there are 2 options here. So you can either create your own API depending on the system that you want to integrate with. And in this case, I just created a dummy API here that returns a few, but 3 email address, 3 contacts that I want to pull out from a subscriber list. And I'm able at that point to send back through the API the specific format that at least I need to match the contacts that I already have. And this is very easy to do if you are using, for example, another Plantain app instance somewhere, for being another system, maybe another marketing or CRM system that you're building with Plantain app. In that situation, you can very easily send this format back, because that's that's basically the requirement. But what happens if you want to integrate with someone like HubSpot? So in that situation, well, you're gonna have to go to HubSpot, get your API key, also create your HubSpot list, and maybe I should not go that fast here on the API key. So I would like to mention that you can find it under integrations and API key, and you can show it here. And I'm going to show you in a few minutes how you can use this API key. Also, don't forget to create your list, or if you already have the list, this number here, 23 in this case, is the one that we are looking for. So when we are going to pull some information, we'll need to specify this this ID. And for the details of the API that you will want to consume from HubSpot, it doesn't need to necessarily be the one that I'm going to show you today. But in my case, the one that I'm looking for is the get contacts in a list, and this is the API that I'm looking for. And the HubSpot API key, we're going to go here. the list ID that we are talking about in this case 23 is gonna need to go here. But this is something that we are gonna build. The only situation that we have right now is that you can see that this is the example response that Hotspot is gonna give to us, and you can see, for example, the first name is here, maybe the last name is here, and the email address is gonna be here. So it's not even close to the format that we would like to have, so we can easily use in our external list entity that we need. So in that situation, a solution that you can do is go to the API builder and create a new API inside of your own Plantain app instance that actually requests HubSpot and gets the response back. And with that response, you can parse it in a way that you can output this specific format that I'm looking for, so to be easy for me to integrate as an external list in what we already built. So in doing that, the first thing we'll need, and I think this is the first step, is gonna be to create a new workflow that actually requests HubSpot and parses the information from HubSpot in a friendly manner, so we can reuse it after that. So I'm just gonna create a new workflow, and I'm gonna call it a HubSpot list, contact list, Sorry, HubSpot. I'm gonna add the description to be the same. Okay, and I think the first, let me see. Oh, this didn't say, my bad. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is create a server request to consume the API that I showed you earlier, and for that we are going to use the server request action here. I already prepared the URL, that basically the API that we are going to need to call. Don't worry, you're not seeing the. I'm actually hiding the API key. But this is actually a variable from my token. It's a constant token, and this is going to return the API key each time. So in case you need to for some reason you're going to call the HubSpot API in multiple places for different purposes, you can use this token, and you don't need to remember or go to HubSpot every time to see, or copy it from another place. And also in the case that you need to, for security reason, you need to change the HubSpot key, you can just go and change it in one place, and that's gonna be the token. This is the API key. I think the method is get, and we don't need any data parameters. We don't need to modify any other parameters here in this action, and we're just gonna need contact. You need to output to name the output token. So maybe we can name it contact JSON. Cool. And we can click save. And the next thing we are gonna need to do, and this is actually something that I prepared earlier, so we can focus on actually sending the emails to those people, is to parse the JSON that HubSpot is gonna return to us. So for that, and I think this is actually the new addition, the execute JavaScript on the server side is very, very useful when managing the parsing and working with JSON fields. So I'm just gonna explain really quickly what you're seeing right now. So remember, the output token from the server request is called contact JSON, and this action, what actually does is importing all the tokens that are in the current execution context. They're available here as string variables. So here, contact JSON is actually the output token from the server request that I used earlier. And what I need to do, the first thing that I need to do, I need to transform the string that I have into a proper JSON. So I'm taking the contact JSON and transforming it into a new JSON object, and I'm gonna call it contact list. The rest is just basically what I'm doing. I'm getting this. Let me show you really quickly. Maybe I can I have this here. Okay, so I'm taking this big list here that has a lot of complicated properties that I'm not really interested for the moment. So I'm basically taking all the contacts that I have here, and I'm just parsing and searching for the right properties that I'm looking for. So basically, I'm taking the big list and just minimizing and reducing it to only the things I need to. So as you can see here, maybe I can put it side by side in this situation. So what you can see here that I'm just looking in my list, I'm looking for the contacts, and you can see here those are the contacts. And for each individual item in this list of the contacts, I'm returning the first name. I'm returning some objects. So the first name needs to be the specific contact properties first name value. So you can see here contact properties first name value. The last name is the same, contact properties last name value. For the email, I need to go into the identity profiles. The identity profile itself is a list, so I'm just searching for the first identity that I find in the hotspot profile. After that, I go to identities, and also this is also a list, and then I'm just choosing the first item, and I'm going to the value. So this is actually translated to what you are seeing right now here. Cool. Right now, so what I need to do is I need to output this. So maybe I can say this is a contact list that I already have parsed. I can click save for this one, and I can end my workflow. So by ending the workflow, I also will need. I also need to output this. So the contact list is actually the contact list is actually my contact list variable. Another thing that we can do, and this may be something useful, we can add the input parameter list ID, which can be in the hotspot situation, it needs to be a number. And maybe the list ID here, we can go and choose the server request. Where is the server request here? Maybe we can put a parameter here, so we can have a dynamic way of choosing which list we want to, from which list we want to pull out the contacts. And I can click save and save again. Oh wait, okay, my bad. I don't need to have a space here. All right, so now we have the hotspot contact list, and what we can do is run it and specify the number 23, which is the list that we are looking for. And I see here it's returned not supported, so I think I'm doing something wrong. What am I doing wrong? Let's give me 1 second. So that means the API here didn't want to work. So what am I missing? Maybe I can leave this as it is. Let's see, try again. Did I miss something? This one. Doesn't matter. Okay, I'm not sure.
So maybe you need an a content type header, Radu?
No authorization is required because the API key is in the URL.
A content type for application JSON?
I will need to, yes, maybe I should check actually the documentation for that. So let's see. Export format. Maybe let's try doing that.
And also maybe it's useful to show Postman as a way to debug and test these kind of issues.
Yes. Well, application / JSON. Yes, I have Postman here, and it's actually working. So not really sure what I'm doing wrong. The API key here, the headers. I'm not seeing anything special that I'm doing wrong. Another way, maybe an option here it will be to actually see which is the actual error. So if this is the contact JSON, maybe I can well, contact JSON. Maybe I can output the contact JSON as well and see the full error in this situation. Run it. 20. Well, it doesn't matter. Oh, contact lists. Whoops. So it seems like the request is working fine.
Mm-hmm.
Something else is not working properly. So I assume that I did something wrong in the execute.
Yeah. I think it's in the JavaScript.
Yes. List ID. Let me see what I did wrong. So contact JSON, contact list, contact. This is the function of contact. Not really seeing it.
So one situation when that error comes from the JavaScript action is if the return is not supported type. So for example, if you return a sub-object, so let's make sure
that... I see. All right. Now I understand. Because I'm returning a JSON list, I'm not returning a string.
Oh, yep.
That's so. Maybe let's do something like this. Maybe var output equal to be this, and maybe I can return JSON that stringify. I hope I probably of the output. Yes, you're totally right. Stringify. I hope I wrote that correctly.
I think it's an I, not a Y. So the first one.
Yes. Yes. Save. And let's try again. 23. Yes, that's a complete success. I will call it. Right. So, coming back to this, you can see that now I only have, from the big JSON that you're seeing below, I outputted only the first name, last name, and email. The first name and last name email of the two contacts that you can see in the you could see in the previous picture. Let me see where it was, that picture. So the two contacts that you are seeing here, Bogdan Litescu and me, you can see that now from the big JSON we have the smaller list. So now you may asking, okay, that's cool, but how is gonna help me this be an API? So so I can add it to my external list. So what we can do at this point is go to the API, go to my API list and create a new API, and we can call it get HubSpot contact list. Let's make it of type get. And input parameter maybe the list ID in this situation. Let's say list ID. And the only action that we actually need are actions. Sorry, it will be to execute the HubSpot workflow based on the based on the list ID that we can pass as a parameter here, and we want the contact list to catch the output of the workflow, and after that we can just do an output row response of that workflow. So basically what we are doing right now is calling the workflow from inside the API and taking the response of that workflow and outputting as the API. So I can click save and test. I can put I want to list 23, and I did. Oh, okay, my bad. I put the row response. This needs to be a token here.
And maybe also add the response, the content type JSON header. So then the caller knows it's a JSON.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. Content type application slash JSON. Okay. And we can save and test again. And now if you output 23, as you can see, the list is the information that you're seeing here in my API is actually it's the information that I got from HubSpot. What I can do, and this is something I encourage everyone to do. Please go and generate some API, some some security keys. I'm just gonna name this one HubSpot spot. Generate some security keys and go and manage your when you go and edit your APIs. Go to the bottom and security and please choose. I think this is the simplest way to secure your API, and choose restricted API keys and choose this HubSpot one. The reason for this, and let me save this key for a moment somewhere. I will need this in a few minutes. Though the reason that you want to do that is you don't want anyone to access your APIs without your permissions, and you don't want personal information from HubSpot to be leaked. So the security keys can be really useful. So now that if I go back to my external list here, you can see I can just, oops, I think I forgot to copy something. You can just go, and add a new external list. HubSpot demo list. The URL, this is the authorization header. So basically, this is I'm going to show you in a second how we are going to use this header. And I think I'm missing, and I'm sorry about that, I forgot to copy the API URL. So just give me 1 second. You can get the big one or the small one. I'm just gonna copy the big one here. I'm gonna put it here. And one thing that we are not having right here at the moment is we are not specifying the list that we want. So maybe we can add the list ID here and actually 23. So in this way, you can reuse this API that we just created and just specify different lists, and you can create different external lists in our marketing platform. So let me show you the one that, I think I already showed you the one. Okay, so this one is unauthorized for reasons because I'm not putting the headers here, so this is not public. But I think this one, because we are already logged in as an administrator, we can see the information here. So don't worry if the order is not email, first name and last name. In this situation, it doesn't matter. It can be first name, last name, email, as you can see in the second API that I'm using. So what we did right now, so we have two different sources of information. We have the Plant and App subscriber dummy list, and we have the HubSpot demo contact list. Those are two resources that we are consuming, and we are preparing to get the emails, the email addresses, and send them emails via the campaigns that we already have. So going back to the campaigns, I think the first thing that we need to do is go and choose one of our campaigns and add those external lists. So we know who we are gonna send the emails to. So we can choose the Plant and App subscribers, and we can also choose the HubSpot demo contact list. Okay, and going back to the campaigns, and this campaign is actually starting to get really interesting, because what you're seeing, we are also gonna send emails to the list that we have locally stored into the database. We are gonna compose a document, and after that, this document we are gonna send also to the local list and also to the email addresses that are coming from external sources. And you can continue doing that, and can add as many lists as external lists as you want. The only modification that we still need to do is actually going to the send campaign workflow and actually taking care of those the information that is actually coming from the external list to be added into the list that we are actually going to send the emails to. So for doing that, I'm going to go to the configuration back and go and edit my send campaign workflow. So the first thing first is gonna be to read the external sources that each campaign has. So in this case, we are gonna generally click into the SQL server. So we need to pull out all the lists of a specific campaign. So what we can do is select all from the what's happening from app dot where is it, external list should be okay, external list. So let's see here. So those are the two, but we need to pull only the ones that were only the ones for our campaign. So for doing that, we need to well, this can be an alias, and we need to join with this table right here. So let's say inner join this one, CEL can be a nice one on cell cell dot, well, wait, what's, oh, okay, my bad, app, this one, and cell dot external list ID equals the external list ID, where the cell dot campaign ID equals, in this case, let's see, so 1 is the one that doesn't have them, and the campaign number 2 is the one that actually has it. So this is gonna work pretty fine for us. So I'm just gonna, make a little bit of space here, and after getting the files, I think, so, or maybe, I can just do it before getting the files.
Radu,
So
maybe it's worth showing the spacer tool. So in the toolbar on the left, there is a spacer tool, so that's much easier to create this kind of space between actions. Okay?
I'm not sure how to use it.
Yeah, so you click it somewhere above the line, right? So leave it, click it above, and then you can drag to create space vertically or horizontally, right?
So where, click here?
Yeah, and drag to the left or to the right.
Oh, I see.
So
okay.
Space between actions without having to drag each action, right?
I see. Okay, I didn't know. Yeah. That's a cool one. Thank you. Okay, so now let's load in an entity. Load entities from a SQL. Wait, what? I think the spacer might mess something up. So let me refresh this really quickly and try again. Let me put those really quickly here. I like to be pretty. Okay, so now I need to load those from my external list for a specific campaign. So let's say campaign ID. I already have the campaign as an input parameter, so that should be the campaign actual ID. Sorry, the campaign ID. I'm gonna name these external lists. External list. Okay. And click save. And now for each individual, maybe let's comment this one to be external list. Cool. Now, again, maybe I'm gonna need some more space. And now for each individual campaign, I will need to search for get the API that I'm looking for, and for each API request the data, and all the data that I get, basically I will take the JSON response and add them to the existing entity of from the ones that we are already pulling from the database. So you see here, we are pulling all the email addresses for all the local lists, and we are putting them in an entity name contact. What we are going to do now is iterate through iterate through all the external lists, get their content, and add them to that contact entity. So external, we want to iterate for each external place to have it. Okay, for each individual external list, we would like to do a server request for each one. Server request, cool. The server request needs to be from the external list entity and API URL. I will assume that all my external sources are gonna get through with a GET request, but this can change. The only situation is that I'm not really having an option here to specify the method, so I'm just assuming all of them are gonna be GET, and I'm already configured them all to be GET HTTP method. And remember, I was having the authorization key, so we added authorization tokens to all of our APIs, so we can just go and say authorization here. My bad, and we can put the external list, and I actually forgot the authorization header. Okay, so this is gonna be authorization header, so we can authenticate our APIs. One small thing so after that, we should store the JSON response here. So I can name this external list contacts, let's say, which is a JSON in this case. Okay, and for each individual JSON, what I can do, I can load those into a in-memory entity, so I can iterate to that, and my model is gonna be external list contacts. Maybe I should name this JSON, which it actually is, and name the response JSON. Okay, I'm loading this new entity, and this can be my external list of contacts. And sorry, I think this doesn't need square brackets. And this list here, what we can do is actually iterate through all of our external contacts from that specific API that we are calling, and we can execute actions on an entity list again. In this case, we are executing on the one that we are extracting from the JSON. And for each individual one, what we can do is, so keep in mind that we are trying to add each individual contact that we are pulling from the JSON, that each specific API returns. We try to add them to the main contact entity that we already have based on the local list, the one that we are storing locally. So for each individual, we need to create an entity, and I would like to specify something here. So you're going to see here that I'm using an action called create entity, but behind the scenes it's actually create or add to an existing one. So what I would like to do is I would like to name the entity contact. So what this is gonna do is actually pushing all the properties that I'm adding to this entity to the main one. So I'll need 3 properties, and I think the one that I'm looking for are called email. First the name, my bad, first name, and last name. And we are looking to pull in the external list of contacts dot email. The one and this, okay, and the first name and the last name. So be careful here. I'm using the small, nothing small. All the letters are small letters because those are actually the properties that we are using. We are pulling from the JSON. So all the properties need to be lowercase. And I think that's it. I need to check something else. I need to match to see if those three properties that I'm seeing right here are actually named the same in the main entity. So what I can do, I can just click save for the moment right here and check the one that is pulling information from the local database. And those are named first name, so they're camel case. So maybe I should name them the same. Go here really quickly, create new entity. So this is gonna be email, this is gonna be first name, and this is gonna be last name. All right, let's give it a try. I'm just gonna click save. And send campaign. So I'm just, let's see. Maybe I should test it here for the moment to make it I can see the errors better. So I'm looking for campaign with the ID number 2. And if I click run, saying no entity with the name external list contact. So I missed, well, most likely I mistyped something. Execution, wait, give me here. Let's see, wait, what? What? Okay. Something went wrong. External list. Okay. I think something is not didn't properly save. Feel like I'm missing something. What happened? Okay, looks fine, but what am I missing right now? So I'm not pulling the JSON information anymore. The list, execution. So, oh, I think I'm missing 2 actions. Something weird happened. Let's see if we can make it work the second time. So the first thing we'll need is the server request. I think I'm missing server request. And this needs to be external list. Let's do it really quickly. This needs to be external list API URL.
Maybe rather don't configure it for now. Let's just make sure it saves. So create this actions.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. And in that case, I need the load JSON. Load entities from JSON. Yeah, you're right. Let's see.
Because I think what might happen is that it doesn't work with having embedded execute action list in this workflow.
Okay.
If that's the case, we can just follow up with the solution for the next webinar.
It seems like it's saved.
Okay.
It seems like it's saved. So let me just give me 1 second. Sorry, authorization header. Authorization header, and I need to output the token. Let me see. Oh, so I don't have any. I think I named it JSON list. This can work for the moment. Copy it here, put it here. This is the one that I'm trying to load, and I think I'm expecting it to be named external list contacts. Let's save it again. And let's give it another try. Number 2. It's running. It's running. Let's see. Cool. I'm really happy about this output. Let's see. Let me see which email address was I having in the HubSpot. So where's the here? So my email address should be the okay. So let's see very quickly. Did I get my email based on the? Let's see more old emails. I think so. Yep. Yep. I got actually two emails, and I think I got two emails because I was already in the other API list. So maybe something that we can improve until next time is be sure to remove duplicates. And also you can see now that we have the PDF attachment based on the components that we set up last time. And I think I'm right on time.
Thanks, Radu. I think that is wonderful, and I think this also opens a new realm of possibilities. We do have a question from Jim. Can you spend a moment to highlight features, limitation of using execute server JavaScript? Is that a session-based context?
Bogdan, I think you were the one that actually developed this one.
Okay. Yeah. So can you open it a bit just so we have it in front?
Yes. Give me 1 second.
Yeah. So basically, the execute JavaScript action is very cool because it runs on the server side, but it doesn't need server-side dependencies like Node.js. It's actually using a Microsoft library. It's called and a Google library. The Microsoft library is called ClearScript, I believe, and it's based on Google V8 engine. So then it's using exactly the JavaScript engine from Chrome. So it's full featured. And of course, you don't have access to DOM elements here. So you cannot do DOM manipulation because there is no page. This runs inside the server, right? But then some very cool things you can do with this is you can also map .NET objects to JavaScript objects. So for example, you could work with datetime objects that are actually C# objects, right? But inside JavaScript. So, and you can also put pull for example, the user info entity from DNN, right? You can pull that in as a variable. So then you have an object in JavaScript that is the exact C# object, right? So it fills this gap very, very nice. What context is it using? So it runs in the context of the workflow. So that's why you see we are able to use contact.json as a variable on the first line. And that's actually a token that exists in the context. So anything that you create in the context, you'll have as variables inside the script, right? So then our idea and our vision is that we have a lot of building blocks available out of the box, but sooner or later, it will come down to customize it, to do something custom that is not an action, So then you can easily throw one of these actions like the JavaScript or the C# one and script your way to the next step of the process in this case. So then you are never blocked, but by something not being available out of the box. So Jim, I'm hoping this answers the question. Cool. So thanks a lot for being here again today, and also to see new faces. I hope it was interesting. As I was telling, even for us, it opens a new realm of possibilities because now we can have HubSpot as a source of truth for all user activities, and we push content there. That's something we'll do in the near future, but also integrate with other systems where we pull some content, because being a source of truth means that it can serve content to other systems, like we did today. So again, thanks a lot for being here today. Make sure to give us feedback on improving this webinar. We take it very seriously. And also some visiting the YouTube channel, following it. It's always something that helps us see what content is interesting. And I guess I'll be seeing you next week, when we'll also have a very big announcement to make, probably one of the biggest announcements this year. So I'm hoping to see you there and share the big news with you as well. Thank you, and see you next week.